Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta, no matter where in this weird and wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It's a new week. It's a blank canvas. Let's paint pictures. Let's tell stories. Here we go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Look at that. What a wonderful group of wonderful looking people right there. And here they are, all live and direct via Squad Central. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. It is a new week. It is a blank canvas. Let's tell stories. Let's paint pictures. Super Kev might be frozen in time again, but I do have with me from Lee Judges TV and Football's 12th Man podcast. And of course, you'll see them also on AFTV is Mr. Lee Judges and Mr. Dan POTTS, otherwise to me, Pottsy. Here we go.
Oh, thank you, Soph. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Soph.
I'm not sure where Lee got that cardboard cutout of Edu. That's bloody impressive. I'll tell you that.
I said, look at the one of Campbell. That's probably about the best photo you ever get of him. Look at him, look suave, everything there.
That's
like,
photogenic, isn't it?
Photogenic, the man. I'll tell you, like it. You know, if he ain't got enough going for him, he's got like, you know, photogenic face as well, like, you know what I mean? So
Pottsy could be in one of those players. You know that they did that. Who was it? I don't know if you saw on screen. I think you got 5 out of 5, Pottsy, where you come up in a picture in one of those. He played for Arsenal at one time. Pictures. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, big up Mark. Big up Mark, by the way, who did that because he put that on and I thought I'll have a go at that. 5 out of 5. Be good to see what judges would get. You know what I mean? Might have to send it to him. But no, that was yeah. I'm all happy with that one. But I must say, Kev's photographing is better than his Wi-Fi. Let me tell you that now.
I tell you, I don't know what's happened. I mean, we got some classics of Kev. You want to talk about classic? This is my favorite. I mean, this is just gold.
That is a classic, that, isn't it?
Well, look, once Kev stops, let's remove this for a minute. And look, judges, right down there, right in the spotlight. You are. Well, don't like that much, do you?
No, he likes it.
I don't mind being like, you know, like holding you two up. I don't mind. Look, there I go.
Well, look. Seeing as Kev isn't doing this, I'll do it. And I always lose my manners. At ease, everyone. At ease. Welcome to the show. Let's say good evening to some of the usual suspects in the house. We got PW here. We got Ugo Kotru. We got Mark. I test myself every single time. We got Yanto. We got Alison. We got TT's in the house. BB's in the house. Our chief like officer is in the house. Demsek. K Marlon, you're all here basically. Matty K ready to cause trouble. And is Newman in the house this evening? I just wanted to give everyone an update. I got a letter from Newman. I don't know if you guys heard what happened on the last show, you guys, but you have been part of Newman's art in the past, right?
Yeah.
And as you know, he's been campaigning all year for a Highbury Squad coin and an Arsenal coin. And his behavior just hasn't been there to get it, right? Some of the squaddies have rallied for him. He's done some major art, and he did a piece of art. Once again, somehow you're on it, Gianni Judges. You always make his art, okay? But on this occasion, where I thought it was a decent piece of art for him to maybe get a coin, Kev felt that he called him out on Twitter and backstabbed him. And so I pulled an Ian Wright and went with Gary Lineker. So it was a whole thing last week. So I have a letter from him, which if Kev allows, I will read at the end of the show. And if Kev allows, I will show it because you are also in it. Super Kev!
Oh, he's here.
Oh, he's here. He's got on the bike and started making his own white eye. Look.
At ease, squaddies, at ease. Anytime these two turn up.
I've done that about 10 minutes ago.
My internet, I've been like this for about 20 minutes. Hey, and let me just say this. Let me just say this to you. You, Lee, you, Pottsy, Sophie, and all the squaddies. Newman backstabbed me.
Oh,
Oh.
Hey, it's just the fact. I'm only telling the truth. Newman backstabbed me. So basically, guys, also, I don't know how far you've got into it, but
Gave him a bit of a debrief.
1 minute he was calling me out on Twitter about refereeing decisions. Me saying that, we got some bad decision. He's saying, no, the referees are right, blah, blah, blah. Then he's going round the back to try and get Sophie to get me off the board of being one of the judge on the panels. Backstabbing me.
Hello, what's happening in there?
Exactly, Potsy. So, Sophie said he's done some new art. I said, I'm not interested. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Will you stay at ease, for Christ's sake? I'm getting a headache here, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I don't like backstabbers, Lee. I don't like it.
Kev.
Ease, squaddies, at ease.
Thank you. God for that.
Kev, what I was saying that you missed when you were trying to connect is he's written you and the squaddies a letter.
Ooh.
He sent me a letter, which most of the squaddies want me to read out at the end of the show, but it's going to be down to you if it's read while you're here, because Lee's here, and Dan did make one of his pieces of art back in the day, but Lee did make the new piece of art, which has not been seen by anybody.
Okay, we'll hear it at the end. Happy to hear it.
The letter? Okay, all right, great. All right, let's talk football. 6 minutes in and not a lick about Arsenal yet, but here we go, people. Are you ready for it? Stay to the end, because I will read Newman's letter and we will end this controversy once and for all. All right, it's Monday Madness. Thanks, of course, to our friends at ZENITH Coins for always looking after us here. Don't forget to go give them a visit. I tell you, if we win the league, there'll be some coin that these boys are going to come out with at the end of the season. All right, here's how it's going to go tonight. We're going to do our top 5 talking points. Then I have a small segment for the lads. What would you say if I said? And then we end on a quick fire round. So here we go. Topic number 1, talking point number 1. I'm not going to get into tactics and what happened at the weekend. We're going to have a nice discussion about a few other bits and bobs. And the first is this fella, Benjamin White. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Potts, on Benjamin White. I think we've had lots of discussions about this fella and whether or not he's underappreciated and underrated by fellow fans, but also by pundits and media, and now the England manager. I don't think most Arsenal fans give a toss about Benjamin White being picked for England as long as he's doing the bits and pieces for the Arsenal. So, has Benjamin White gone from being one of the most underrated players with Arsenal fans and fans of the Premier League to being one of the most disrespected and underrated players in the world, Dan Potts? What say you about Benjamin?
Well, the simple answer is yes. I mean, first of all, Southgate's got to go. So I don't want to even go and talk about that. That's just a disgrace for him not to even. I mean, Ramsdale's not the number 1 keeper and Ben White isn't the right back. So he can go as far as I'm concerned. I would have got rid of him anyway. That's the England thing done. I don't need to talk about that anymore. Let's talk about Arsenal and how unbelievably consistent this lad's been. At centre-back, I did have my question marks last season in certain games. I thought he had unbelievable games in some, but I had certain games in others. But for me, this guy has to be given an unbelievable amount of respect at right-back. He has been superb. And for all that Zinchenko is important in terms of the inverted role and how he's allowed us to play in a different way, Ben White has been unbelievably important for the way that we're playing in terms of our defensive work, our transition, and how great our right-hand side has been. The overlapping he's doing now with Bukayo Saka has led to an amazing amount of goals and chances created by Arsenal. So for me, I think when you talk about an underappreciated and underrated player, he's also a player that goes under the radar. He's someone that has been consistently good now, and in my opinion, along with Granit Xhaka, the most improved player at Arsenal, and yet no one still talks about him. And I think there's 3 at the moment, Soph, that people are not looking, and he is one of them. Because for all the love I understand for Saka and Martinelli, for everybody telling me that Partey's a Rolls Royce, I'm with it. I love Saliba. I love what Zinchenko's done with Arsenal. But along with Ramsdale and Gabriel, this guy never really gets a mention, and I don't quite understand why. He's absolutely superb, man. And I've been so impressed by his attitude, his mentality, his shithousery, the way that he gets up the crowd, the way he got in Neto's face at Bournemouth. I love everything about this guy, man. And, me and Judges were talking last night on the channel saying, who's our favourite player? It changes every week. And this guy's been in the mention for a few of late. He basically epitomises what Mikel Arteta has done culture-wise. He's a big factor of that. And let me lastly say this. If you take the 0 off of his price tag, people will be going loopy about this guy. Absolutely loopy. If he was 5 million, not 50, people will be telling you one of the best signings around, one of the best things Arsenal have done. But because he was 50, everybody now looks and says, he better be Sol Campbell or I'm coming for him. Why? He doesn't have to be anything. He can be Ben White. And for me, he's been outstanding. Now, I said few times last season that the jury was out for me when he first started because I felt like he needed time to settle. I couldn't get the Brentford away fixture out my head where he got absolutely annihilated, bullied. I thought, oh no, what have we signed here? Can't win anything in the air. He has been tremendous, mate, and deserves all the plaudits this season for me.
Love that. Well said, Potsy. Mr. Judges, I'm sure you're going to reiterate a lot of what Ben has said. The partnership in particular, I'd love for you to focus on this just a tad more because, we were always talking about needing an overlapping, more of that traditional right back. The young fella from what was his Fresneda, not Fresneda, was that his name? Fresneda. The squaddies will correct me, but he was one of those bombing it on the right. He can play various positions as well. Actually, he can play left, right. He can actually play in the middle of the midfield as well. We were looking for that type of player. Benjamin White settled into the role, owns it, but this partnership that has been developing is just a beautiful thing to see, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, it is. Before I've done that, though, I've been out all day, checking my family history, and thank God I've got a Welsh great-great-granddad. His name's Taffy. I've now become a Welsh fan, so I don't care about England no more. They are history, as far as I'm concerned, gone. Because why he's not in the squad, and when I look at other players that are in the squad, it's beyond me. It's beyond me. And I don't know how
too many right backs, he said, Lee. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I know,
too many right backs. Well, he's better than all of them. So what's all that about? I don't get it at all.
He's better than all of them because I do rate Reece James, but he's not quite 100% fit yet. And also, this is something that's always been sort of gone under the radar with Arsenal over the years. Arsenal had the best back four for many, many years, and they're all English. Hardly ever played, You think well, why don't you go with that? If you've got a great central defensive partnership for Arsenal or whoever it can be, why don't they play? Gary Pallister, for instance, played a lot of games for England. Steve Bruce didn't. I don't understand that. They've got this partnership that they play in, week out. Surely it would be beneficial. So when it goes to the, and you've got the best player, I think, in English football at this moment in time in Saka. So, you want to give him the best tools. The best tool is Ben White, to play with him, because now he's going to go and train and going to have to learn different things with Reece James. But it's just natural with these two, So I don't understand it. I really don't. And not only is Ben White a very, very good defender, he's a bloody good footballer. He's a good footballer. He can pass, he can play. I'm a big fan. I always have been. I really am a big fan of him. Did I think he could be a right back? Not as good as what I've seen. It's incredible. It's incredible, And I'll tell you what, the work rate he gets by, I'm glad he's going to, hopefully he's off to Dubai, working on his tan and things like that, because he needs to rest, because he is very, very, very important to Arsenal. Very, very important. We've got a combination down that side, and I think you've got to include Odegaard in that as well, because the three of them just rip up teams. And look, he's a good-looking lad as well, and he come on,
they all are, aren't they? I was just thinking that.
Back in the day we had ugly Arsenal players, not now. They're not now, what I mean.
Oh, that's so cruel, Judges. So cruel.
Well, no, take it as you will, But no, they're all good.
Hold on a second. Come on now.
Hang on, look at that.
Kevin knocked it up to a 7 out of 10, didn't he?
Name names, Judges. Name names, Judges.
I am not naming. I am never naming names. You know what I mean?
But just go.
I like. I've got to say, I like Ben White. I can't help it. I really, really like him. And, he's a top player, and I don't care about the price tag. Who cares about that? Like, no one looks at how much Van Dijk was worth or whatever. I think that he should be in the England team. 100% should he be in the England squad. But I think at the end of it, he had a bust up on that World Cup. It turned around when they put Dyer in front of him. He went up to his room and got his bags. And I'll tell you what, I'd have helped him pack as well. So there you go.
Brilliant stuff. I mean, who knows what happened? But Kev, we don't care as long as he plays great for Arsenal, right? You've seen it before. Take us beyond the white lines. You play with players, and sometimes I know how is it he never played for his country? I mean, hello. At the same time, Kev, as Arsenal fans, I care less, but I care for him.
Sophie, this is the ultimate conundrum at times, because England squad or being picked for your country should be about form. It should be about form. Arsenal have been top of the league, but for maybe 1 or 2 weeks or whatever, all season. Ben White's been incredible, playing right back, showing his flexibility, playing offensive at times, playing defensive at times, but doing everything effortlessly. And he gets called up for the World Cup, which was kind of like grinding the gears to pick him. Then you get to the World Cup and you're an afterthought. No wonder he left. He must have been so frustrated because he didn't even get a look at. He didn't even get a minute. So he's probably said, sod this, I'm going. Because you know what? I love the environment of the Arsenal. I want to be back at the Arsenal. I don't want to be messing around. I know it's a World Cup. So maybe that burnt a bridge with Southgate. And I get it. Manager will feel like, slighted that he done that. But Sophie, if we're looking at performances, if we're looking at quality, if we're looking at class, Ben White ticks all them boxes. He does. He's been the best right back in the league this season. He has been.
Kev, if that was another player that had left the England setup like that, not an Arsenal player, would we have ripped him? Just playing devil's advocate here because I support Ben, but I'm just saying, like.
I don't know. I don't know if he would have got as ripped as Ben White does. Because don't forget, we are upsetting the apple cart by being top. What do they call us? An elephant on top of a tree. That's what they're trying to say. The Arsenal were an elephant on top of the tree. You've got no place to be there. We've been there all season. So if you're playing in this team and you're doing well, you deserve your spot. You're top of the league. Eric Dyer's being included in, and there's no disrespect to Eric Dyer, but Ben White for me is a much better player. He's a much better player. Doesn't get a look in. So, to be honest, I don't blame Ben White. Ben White's come back into the arms of Arsenal. You know what? That's why I'm sure we're going to get onto this, Sophie. That's why these players have to win the league this season.
Yes, we're going to get into that for sure.
If they win the league, nobody could question them.
Kev, this is why, okay, you weren't here for those 2 shows. And seeing as you brought it up, I want to mention it with Lee and Dan in the room now, because I copped a lot of crap, but I also got a lot of people agreeing with what I said. Winning the Premier League now is even more important than ever for me, because people were writing to me this morning saying, I hope you're going to get off your Europa League train now, and be happy. We won at the weekend. See, whether it was Pedro trying to say to me, and I keep saying to everyone, stop. My beef wasn't with Arteta or the team. My beef was with you fans being happy that we got kicked out of the Europa League. Sports is about winning. This team needs to know what it feels like to win together. And I said, wait till Kevin's back, and I'm sure he'll have my back on this one. It's not a case of losing is a blessing in disguise. How can losing be a blessing in disguise for the youngest team in the Premier League? My point was, you want Arteta to have to deal with picking up a losing mentality, or do you want us to keep going on this run until the end of the season? Super Kev, real quick. The last time we won it was when you were in the team. I really wanted to win Europa League.
I think we all did, Soph, to be honest. Look, I want Arsenal to win every game. I wanted Arsenal to do the double. That's for sure. Against a decent Sporting Lisbon team, but when we do change it, we're not as strong as when we have the first 11. We know that, but usually it does get us through, Soph. I was gutted to go out. I'll be honest with you. I was gutted. I thought, we had enough chances to get through. They scored an unbelievable goal, but we had enough chances in extra time to go through. We couldn't get it done. But you know what? The football gods maybe worked against us that night, because going out on penalties the way we did, it just weren't to be. But we get questioned, and fans have questioned, do we think like a big club? Well, if we think like a big club, you want to win both. You're in 2 tournaments. You want to win both tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, it didn't work out, and people will then turn around and say, "Oh, yeah, we didn't want to win that anyway." But that's a bit of sour grapes as far as I'm concerned. Are we deep enough? Probably not to go on that many fronts.
Yeah, but that's an irrelevant part of.
No, but the point of the matter is, Soph, we did go out. So do I like it? 100% no. I don't like it one bit. We better win the league.
Exactly.
That is the trade-off. We better go and win the league. Now there's no excuses. We've got 1 game a week basically. So we better win that league.
All right. Okay. I promised you guys Kev's response, and there it is. Lee and Dan, just 10 seconds. I think you were both wanting to win Europa and are not part of the blessing in disguise group. Is that correct?
Do you want me to go first, Lee, or do you want to go first?
Well, listen, how I look at it is that, I didn't want to go out, but now we've gone out. We've got Juventus. The next 3 games would have been Liverpool away, Juventus away, West Ham away. Something would have had to have given, and then Juventus again, and then if you got through that, you got Man United in the semi-finals. I don't want the Europa League to get in the way of our chances of winning the league. I think we've got an unbelievable chance of winning the league. And if it means sacrificing the Europa League for a cup competition, I'm going to be really honest. We didn't want to be in it last season. If we'd be honest, we was all annoyed we was going to go in it. I'm all for that. I'm not saying throw it away. My belief was that play your second team in the Europa League and see how you went. But it didn't happen. And so I'm not going to really lose too much sleep over it. Have we got to win the league now? Well, yeah, I think that we have. But if we don't win the league, it's still not a failure. I think we've had a fantastic season so far. We're challenging, we're playing really well. I just think it gives us a much better chance to win the league. So I can live with it.
All right. POTTS, real quick from you.
Yeah, I'm with KC. Those that seem to think that they're fans of Arsenal who want us to go out of competitions, they go and support Don't Matter FC then, because every time we go out of a cup, it don't matter. Lose the League Cup to Brighton, don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You see us lose to Man City in the FA Cup, don't matter. We lost to Sporting Lisbon on Thursday. How disappointing. Don't matter. Well, when does it matter then? What do you mean it doesn't matter? I grew up, I was spoiled growing up, so spoiled brat, mate. I see us from 93 to 2006 being one of the best sides I've ever seen in parts of that era. And for me, winning trophies is what this club should always be about. So when we go out of them, I'm disappointed. And for me, if we get second, don't matter, or does it matter? Because it matters to me. I'll be gutted if we don't win this league. Now, I'm not going to sit there and start throwing my toys out the pram and say that everyone needs to be sacked and heads need to roll if we come second and go down to the wire. But if we don't win the league, we've gone out of all the competitions yet again. So people are going to say, this is a failure. This is a failure. And whether you believe it is or not is a different debate. But people will come for Arsenal because we haven't got a trophy at the end of it yet again. So I hope we win this league, man. I hope and pray that we do. Because for me, it does matter. It's not a don't matter. It does.
All right. Good stuff, everyone. You are tuned into the Highbury Squad's Monday Madness. Great stuff here. All right. 24 minutes in and we've gotten through our first talking point. All righty, we're on track. I did
We're
promise
all,
them
we're
a
all
bumper
night.
show.
We're all night.
Listen, if we do win the league, and it will be, I think, because of our January signings. Well, one in particular. Not because he won't be the reason why, but the second point I wanted to get onto this evening with you guys is Martinelli playing even better football with Trossard up front? Lee, I'm going to start with you on this one. Obviously, we've seen this trio, and at the start of the season before Jesus' injury, it was magical. And the football we were playing was just beautiful. And we all know about Jesus. There's no need for me to talk about his attributes. But this has also taken flight. Talk to me, Lee.
It's a great question. First of all, I think you've got to give credit to Martinelli's mentality. I think that, if you look back to the Aston Villa game, he was left out of that game. What was his response? His response was to come on and create a goal and score a goal. And he's gone on since then and scored goals. I've watched him in the last couple of games, particularly with Trossard, even with Jesus the other day. The interchanging, you couldn't do that with Eddie. Eddie hasn't got that ability to do that. Eddie's the frontline striker. That's what he does. So I feel that Martinelli had to adapt his game a little bit, where he was a little bit more restricted to left wing, say, where now he can just move around and pick it, find pockets of space and do what he's doing. So I do think that with the system and the way Trossard plays, and of course Gabby when he comes back, has benefited Martinelli 100%. But I don't want to diss Eddie, because I think, at the end of it, Eddie has done his bit. Whatever happens now with Eddie to the end of the season, he has contributed in this game. It might have took a little bit of shine off of Martinelli, but Martinelli's come back now and shining. We don't look at Trossard and go, oh, he ain't scored for 2 games or 1 game or whatever, where we did with Eddie. There was a pressure on Eddie to score goals. And he done his job there, but I like the movement of the front three at the moment, the way that they're playing, with Trossard coming in, and I do believe this, Sophie. I think that when you look at the end, when you come back at the end of the season, if Arsenal go on and win this league, or they don't, they're still in a precarious position going into January. The signings that we've made have been fantastic. We didn't do those signings last season. We made those signings with Trossard this time around. You watch him, he's a very, very good player. And the greatest thing about it all is that, Jesus is back now, and we're not saying, oh, let's get him into the team. Let's get him into the team. It's like, take your time now, Gabby, and I think that's fantastic. But I've got to say, the mentality of Martinelli, I think, has got to be brought up. 120 minutes on Thursday. The only player in the whole stadium to miss a penalty, a walk in that dressing room, must have had a sleepless night thinking about that. I'm sure he has, picks himself up and produces a performance like that of a kid of that age. I think that is unbelievable mentality. And that, to me, makes me think more that we can win this league when you've got guys like that doing what they've done.
You know what? And Lee, that's 2 of them now, isn't it? Saka misses the penalty for England, gets racially abused, comes back, has a season. It reminds me, and I think we've talked about it, is when Beckham, burned in effigy, hung in effigy, and all the terrible things that happened to him when he came back from the World Cup. And to see our players, young players, bounce back like this, I think, Dan, also has a lot to do with the support around them, right? Clearly, Arsenal, and Kev will tell us this and has told us this for years and years, the way we protect our young players, and, we've put a really healthy, wall around them in a positive way. Martinelli and Trossard, does Jesus get a look in here before City away? Dan, what's your take on Martinelli and how he's been playing? He's been asked to play differently again, and he's delivering.
Well, I think you've answered how I was going to answer your question, and that was, is Martinelli better next to Trossard or Jesus? I actually think that he's as good next to both of them, because he's different gravy, mate. This kid is mustard, absolute mustard. The work rate, the tenacity, the never say die attitude. the mentality of him to miss a penalty and then play 120 minutes and come on and do what he was doing. That first half, he was unplayable, by far our best player. Looked like everything was going to go right whenever he had the ball. And for me, people talk about Freddie Ljungberg and Robert Pires and how important they were in the Invincible season. They're hitting them figures plus more, Martinelli and Saka, right now. They've been unbelievable. And, you know, me and Kev last season had a chat about what was going to happen up top without the Aubameyangs and Lacazette not scoring and Eddie not being ready. And we said we're going to need goals by committee. This season, we've got that plus more. Martinelli, 13 goals, one off of Rashford, who's apparently the next Ballon d'Or winner and all this. If you speak to Man United fans, Martinelli's 1 goal off of him. Then you got Saka. What that kid's doing, people are saying, oh, isn't he doing well this year? Like, where have people been for the last 3 years? Like this kid's carried us for the last 2, and this season's been unbelievable yet again. Martin Odegaard, someone I questioned in terms of his goals and assists last season. Boom. There you go. Right back in my face. Goals and assists. And for me, when I go to the Emirates every single week, who's the last person clapping all the fans? That guy. Every single game without fail. Whether we win, whether we lose. What an appointment as a captain, by the way. As someone who wanted Kieran Tierney, because I love him and I still do, this guy was absolutely the right decision. He's been absolutely outstanding for me. And them front three have been an absolute pleasure. I've been to the Emirates and I've been away for most of the games this season. And the last 6 games in particular, it has been an absolute pleasure in parts to watch this team. And I haven't said that since the Highbury days, if I'm honest. And I've seen some very good teams at the Emirates under Arsene Wenger. They haven't pleased me as much as this season. It's been an absolute delight and a joy to watch them. So for me, mate, you walk off the pitch now and you think, who was man of the match? And people throw about 8 names at you. It never was that.
It happens a lot, yeah.
All
and
the
it
time.
happens every week.
I listen to interviews. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of fans and people I respect. They're all talking differently about who they like the most at the moment. And people's favourite player is changing from Saka to Martinelli to Saliba weekly.
Yeah.
Stopping and changing. It's just a pleasure, man.
Yep. Even Rob Holding made some of the Arsenal universe's favourite players this weekend. Super Kev, you've had different strike partners in your career. You've been asked to play differently for all the teams that you've played for in terms of new personnel coming in, injuries. Martinelli, under a lot of pressure coming out of the World Cup, dipped in form. I think we underestimate how it affects a player, even though if you're not part of a first 11, it's your country. You didn't win the World Cup. It's very disappointing, especially as a Brazilian. Talk to me about these options, but also in particular, do you really think Martinelli's playing better with Trossard?
Yeah, I do, Soph. Look, I think when Martinelli played with Eddie, I think he had to curb his natural instincts, because his natural instincts as a right footer is to go inside. But when he goes inside, Eddie doesn't have the game. As Lee quite rightly said, Eddie doesn't have the game to go outside, to get that movement going. Jesus does. Trossard naturally does it because he can play anywhere across the front. So Martinelli had to kind of stay stuck to the left-hand side. And for a fullback, it's a lot easier when he's not moving all around the place, where you know where he is. As a fullback, you know he's going to be there. I can just check him, show him down the line. He's not the greatest on his left foot to be whipping balls in. Arsenal ain't the biggest. You know, I'd rather you cross it with Eddie and catch you in the middle. But with Jesus, we saw it earlier on in the season, first half of the season. With Trossard now as the false 9, Trossard's natural game is to pick the ball up and drift. And when he drifts, you see Martinelli getting in the box. We saw a very good goal at Fulham, where Martinelli's playing the striker, heading it in at the back post. That type of movement, as you quite rightly said, so causes chaos and confusion. Yeah. It does. That movement, we've seen Jesus do it. We've seen now Trossard do it. Eddie just doesn't have that type of game. So, look, whoever you play with, you've got to play. Sometimes I think Martinelli had to sacrifice himself a little bit playing with Eddie for Eddie to get the goals and stay on that left-hand side, right? Which he done. And it didn't quite work out for him. He got dropped. But we keep talking about the mentality of these young players. He got dropped. He comes back in. and he's got the bit between his teeth. At Aston Villa, we needed that win, helped us get that win, and then he's not stopped since then. Missed the penalty on Thursday, scores the first goal, and was electric on the Sunday. Incredible. 21 years old. These guys, what are they going to be like in 2-3 years? Honestly, these guys are going to be special. That's why we need to win the title this year. Because these boys will go to another level getting that title-winning medal, getting that Premier League title at the Emirates. I'm telling you, they will reach another level.
Okay, so it's in my next segment, but because you've mentioned it twice now, I'm going to ask the question and we can riff off this together, all four of us. I think I'm not going to kill the team or the manager if we don't win the league. As a fan, I'm going to be devastated and crushed. And here's my reason. Number one, it's not easy to win a title. So when it's there, you got to take it, right? We thought with that team we had back in the day, we would get back to the Champions League final the next year. Didn't happen. Hasn't happened. We thought when we won the league in 2004, bosh, we'll carry on doing it again and again. It's been 20 years. Happened to Liverpool, happened to us. It's happening to Man United now. Football is cruel. It's cyclical, but it's also beautiful. I think we have to win the league this year because, Kev, mentally, we've seen this team be super strong and they've evolved into something completely different and quite beastly, mental monsters, right? There's a difference between losing out on top four and coming back and fighting for something big. There's a major difference between losing a league title and coming back. I fear if we don't win it, coming back from that might be tougher than we think. Is that fair or foul?
No, that's fair. That's a fair shout. Look, for all the people who look at it and say, we've got to win and, one game at a time, the players know. The players know what's at stake. Now it's a clear road. 10 cup finals to really, let's be honest, immortality at Arsenal. Because very rarely you get an opportunity to do what they can do. After 19 years, we spoke about the pain of the Arsene Wenger back end of his career, then Emery, and then Arteta, and the struggle that we had. We get over the line this season. I'm telling you, this club, this football club, all of a sudden, the level of the club goes up. You're going into the Champions League as champions. That makes a massive difference in recruitment. That makes a massive difference in the players, the mentality, the level that they're at. Because not many teams could go against that City side. They've only been really breached once. That was Liverpool. And Liverpool had to kind of break records virtually to do it.
And I don't want to go in, Kev, and guys, last day cannot happen here, right? So the end section's coming now, but whatever. Last day situation can't happen because we've seen what City do on the last day, right? I can't go into, I can't even think about it, to be honest with you. Can't deal with it. Even though they've got a tougher game at Brentford, we've got Wolves at home. Again, nothing's guaranteed. Lee, we have to win it this year, don't we?
I love it. Like, you know what I mean? Look, listen, I'm not a believer of we have to win it this season. If I'll be honest, they've got a plan. You know what I mean? There's been a plan for a couple of years. As you know, I think we're further than what they probably think that they are. So if they think that they can win the league next year or the year after, there must be a plan, and I believe in that. Listen, beginning of the season, if every Arsenal fan, if you said you think you're going to win the league, you wouldn't say it because you thought you were going to be mocked. You know, that's where we were. We ain't being mocked now if you say you think you're going to win the league, and that's how well we're doing at this moment in time. I think we're good enough to win it. I think that I've got a little feeling that we've got a great chance to win it. But I'm like everybody else. I'm not going to get carried away because there is some real tough games still to come. There is some tough games, you know. But I do believe if we beat Leeds and then we go to Liverpool and we beat Liverpool, which we're capable of doing, I think then it's really it is on. But we've been here before, Soph. We've been here. I remember in '89. You know, we looked at it. We said, we got Derby County and Wimbledon to win the league, and we didn't win either one of them. Like,
exactly.
You know? So that's why I'm not going to get carried away. It's going to be tough. But listen, if it comes down to the last game against Wolves, I'm biting your hand off for that, because I tell you what, I'd have bit your hand off and more at the beginning of the season. You know, I really would. Like, you know,
I'd rather play Wolves at home than Brentford away.
Yeah, you know, listen, we got some, you know, we got Forest away the game before that. You know, Forest are fighting for their lives. Listen, every game now is going to be tough, but I'm going to be really honest with you about this. I thought Fulham was going to be tough, and I thought that Crystal Palace was going to be tough, and we breezed past them with a confidence and an arrogance that I liked, and an efficiency of getting those games. You know, I think that they're learning. I do think that they're learning. I do think that we learnt from last season. It was a bitter pill to take. And I think that that's driving us on a little bit, like, you know, don't make those same mistakes. But listen, I'm going to be really honest with you, and this is where I'm a little bit more panicky. This time last season, we went to Aston Villa, beat them 1-0, and we all thought we was going to win, get into the top four, like, you know, and the wheels firmly come off after that. Like, you know, this international break is crucial. After that, we got Leeds. We must back that up. You remember, like last time we had the international break, come back and got stuffed by Crystal Palace. We've got to come back and win that game against Leeds. And I think if we do, we're in with a great chance and all that, like, you know. So, listen, for me, I said to Dan, me and Dan, we nicked a coffee yesterday, didn't we, Dan? I said, like, I want all this pain, the pain, the agony of the type, because you know what? I've been moaning about it for 10 years. Now I've got it, I'm not going to moan about it, like, you know. So if I lose some more here, I ain't got nothing to lose. I don't care. You know what I mean? Bring it on.
All right. Dan, I'm going to get your take. I'm going to switch back to that conversation at the end, but let's just finish up the top 5 talking points here. I had to get that one in about the title, and I've got one for you at the end, Dan, on that. I want to go back to number 3, Saka, okay, on my list, because you mentioned it, Dan, and I wanted to swing this one back to you. You mentioned the Ballon d'Or, and I've been saying to Kev often this season, if we win the Premier League and Saka has the type of season that he is having, does he get in with the shout of the Ballon d'Or? And you mentioned Odegaard, and maybe, you know, we have 2 or 3 players that could be up for that. He's such a special player. I mean, I actually was about to text Kev and say, Saka's not having a really good game. The first 15, 20 minutes, I thought the ball was a little loose on his feet. He was trying a bit too hard. He couldn't insert himself. He was, again, being swarmed by 3 or 4 players, and then, you know, just does what he does best. Is Saka a potential Ballon d'Or winner for next year if we win the Premier League?
Yes, but he won't get it.
Is that because Haaland scores goals, but is he the best player? I know that Mbappe, you know, PSG are going to win Liga. There's this whole conversation that opens up the door. Maybe talk to me.
When was the last time a Premier League winner won the Ballon d'Or? Doesn't happen, does it? It's always about, you know, whoever the champion, whoever the Champions League winner is. It's normally someone from that. If it's complemented with an international winner, it's probably somebody like that. To me, Thierry Henry never won a Ballon d'Or. Since then, I was done with the whole thing. I don't actually care. It's not a trophy I respect or look at and think, wow, what an absolute honour that would be. Some of the people that have won that is crazy, in my opinion, over the years. So, you know, people to get that, you know, I remember there was always the European Player of the Year and the Player in the World and all this. I thought, this is just a nonsense, all of this. I don't really care, if I'm honest. Give me a league title. I'll take that as number 1. Then we can discuss whether Saka or Odegaard or the boys deserve it. I think this guy is incredible. Absolutely incredible. For me, the best person to come through the youth system, period. I know we've had unbelievable players. People will talk about Wilshere and Adams and Cole and others. And Kev will probably know more than that I've missed off. I know he played with a lot of them. This kid's better than all of them for me. I think he's going right to the very top. You look at what he's doing at his age; it's absolutely phenomenal. You know, I said this to Lee last night. Big up Mark Porter, who sits by me. Mark said to me yesterday at the game, he goes, "He might be all right in a few years' time, that Saka, mightn't he?" You know, and I thought, yeah, he's 21 years old. It's absolutely crazy to what that guy's been through at that age. He's gone through stuff that people don't in a lifetime, this kid. And I saw him in the interview yesterday on Match of the Day with Keown and with Gabadon. And I just loved it. I absolutely loved everything he said. It was just amazing. Oh, it's all about you, Saka. It's all about you. And he just kept batting it off. No, it ain't. I don't care. It'd be lovely to win one of those, but I'd rather have a league title, thanks. Don't give me player of the year. Only give me player of the year if I win the league. That's what he wants. And I do see it, Soph. I see it in his face. I see it in Martinelli's face. Zinchenko's, Saliba's, Xhaka's, parties. Every single time they come up to the fans, they're not clapping because they've won the game. They're clapping because they want the title. All of them want this. There's hunger there. There's desire. There's passion. There's drive. There's belief. There's winning mentality throughout that now because it's been passed on by previous winners, Jesus, Zinchenko, and Mikel Arteta has got everybody singing off the same song sheet for me. Talk about Ballon d'Ors with Saka. Listen, hopefully one day, hopefully this year. But for me, this kid is going right to the top, whether he wins a Ballon d'Or or not. And I think we are so fortunate to have this kid. I need to see him signing this contract. I really hope it happens. If he stays here, I'll say this now. If he stays here for the whole of his career, he has the potential in a World Premier League all-time 11 of being in it, in my opinion. And I'm talking about Ronaldo's, Salah's, Giggs, Bale's, Hazard's, all those players you can roll off the tongue. He could be better than half of them, in my opinion. I really believe it. I
agree with Terence here. I think if he stays at the Arsenal, he has the potential to be the greatest ever. And I know now the club will do the right things to build. We're seeing evidence that this club and these owners, don't forget what Kevin and I said about the owners a couple of years ago, will and are putting their money behind the Arsenal Football Club. This manager's been backed. Edu's been backed. They're getting what they want within reason. All right. And I think that's smart. But Super Kev, I've got to get your take on this because you were young. You were at the Arsenal. You played with some of the greats. To see a young player like that come through, I love you all, guys. I love all of you. But I'm just saying that the way I feel about him might even surpass how I felt about you guys at the time.
Yeah. So to be honest, I feel exactly the same about this guy. I think because as well we've kind of been in the doldrums for a long time, haven't we? And don't forget, I wanna get down on this. I won my first title at 21. I want Saka and Smith Rowe and all these guys to get their first title at 21 because it makes a massive difference to your mentality. It's a lot different now because of obviously all the money and you're going against Manchester City. But if Saka and these guys can get their first title at 21, fatten up the squad with more quality players, because let's be honest, if we don't move on and become better and become a well-established Champions League team, something's wrong. So this is just a stepping stone. This really is a stepping stone. So Saka's an incredible player. He really is. Ballon d'Or, by the way, until he wins the title and then some, he might be further down the line. You might see his name down the line, but it's going to be the usual suspects like you see every year. That's the way it goes until you become a disruptor. Saka has the potential to become a disruptor. He could disrupt, but he's got to be playing in the Champions League. Once he gets in the Champions League, he starts banging goals in the Champions League. Then all of a sudden, the powers that be start taking Saka serious. We don't mind. We take him serious now. We absolutely adore this kid because, one, because he's so talented, and two, because he's so humble.
Lee, you've seen a lot and have been following Arsenal for many, many years. And I think maybe you can tap into a little bit of what I said to Kev as, we fell in love with Rocky. We fell in love with POTTS. We fell in love with everybody. I mean, you fall in love with, you could go, you go back. I mean, the 70s, we've had great players to fall in love with. We've been so lucky as fans. We went through a bit of a lull. And I think the reason why we're so crazy about this team is because for what 10 years we've had to try and fall in love with Gervinho or Shamak or Sigan or Sonogo. Sorry, I know you met him at the weekend, Lee, but you've become besties now. But talk to me about what Saka means to you, someone who's been an Arsenal fan for about 60 years.
Yeah, thanks for that. Basically making me feel very old there, like I was saying that.
You dropped that in so well.
Yeah, thanks for that. Listen, I've always said this, and I'll always say it now, that I don't care who they are. If they come through the ranks, you've got a special feeling for them as a fan. There's just something special about that coming through, going back to when Liam Brady come through as a kid, Frank Stapleton going through to, the fantastic George Graham era when you had the likes of David Rocastle, Mickey Tobbs, Kevin coming through. Now, when you have to go back, and there's none of this internet sort of stuff and all that. You used to pick up the program and go in and have a look at the youth team, see Campbell banging in goals, Rocastle coming through it, that Tony Adams, Martin Keown. These names all coming through, so you sort of wanted them to do well, and then when they come into the team, it was exciting, and that's how it was, And it's the same now with Jack Wilshere. Jack Wilshere gets more of a pass because of being coming through the ranks than say probably someone like Ramsey, if I'll be honest. Do you know what I'm saying? Something like that. So and then this kid's come along, and he's just sensational, and I'm gonna, I probably agree with Danny. At this moment now, I don't think I've seen a player come through the ranks as good as him. In all the times I've been there, Paul Merson was when he came into the team, a championship winning team in '89 was class. Doesn't get the recognition that he deserves, but come through. Tony Adams, of course, will always be someone that you would think of, but for pure ability, I don't know. Do you know, we was talking about this the other day? Robert Perez, fantastic Arsenal player, fantastic player, but you had to put in different other players to compensate for a couple of weaknesses that he had. Now you was willing to do that because he was that good. Saka's not got a weakness. You don't have to put somebody in there to look after him and do his tackling back or his defending or everything. The kid has got it all. If you asked him to play left back, he could be one of the world's best left backs. You ask him to play in the middle, he's got it all. This kid has got it all. And the best thing that I can give him on everything else, because all these young kids have got ability, he's got the temperament to go with it as well. And I think that's something fair. And do you know what was the greatest thing yesterday in that interview? Was that he couldn't wait to say, "Yeah, I know you, Martin."
Yeah,
I know you, Martin. If he met Kevin Campbell, he'd go, "I know him. I know you, Kevin." Do you know what? That to me is a big thing, because that tells you're an Arsenal man, because you know what's going on in the park.
Study.
Kevin saw him. It's Lee. Kevin saw him last week, and he was like, he's just the dude.
Had a nice chat with him. He's a lovely kid.
And he would know you,
So
Kev.
humble.
And he would know you because he has been brought up the Arsenal way. And that is something that is so special about these players. And that bit in the interview when he said, "I know you, Martin." You know what I mean? Like that is, and the respect, because he played for the Arsenal.
He wanted to listen to me. He asked me a question. Wanted to listen to his thoughts.
Yeah,
exactly that. So we want to sit down with the likes of Kevin, and sit down with the likes of Ian Wright or Tony Adams or Martin Keown. Do you know why? Because they've done it playing for the Arsenal, and he wants to do it playing for. That's what that told me, that he wants to win things for the Arsenal. Forget about the contract, he'll sign that, because you could sell that by his demeanour. This is a kid that wants to do it for Arsenal.
And you know what, Lee, one of my favourite responses as well then too was when one of my favourite things he said, "We're not afraid of anyone."
No
when was
fear
the
anymore.
last time you heard an Arsenal player say that out loud?
And that gives you the confidence to go forward, doesn't it? Because I tell you what, you know, I'm a little bit nervous of Liverpool. I'm a little bit nervous of going to Man City. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm a little
Don't
bit
get me
nervous.
started, Lee. Don't get me started.
No, I'm a little bit nervous going to Newcastle. But when he said that yesterday, I said, "Oh, bring it on. Let's have it." Because if he's telling you that, I'm going to go with this. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's been instilled by him from the manager and all upwards and all that. Like, bring it on. These kids, you know, they believe they can win the league. They believe, and they've been, and do you know why? Because I tell you what, he knows Saka. He's going to go to England this week. Yeah, he ain't worried about whether he's going to get the game. Give me the number 7 shirt. I am the man, and it's not being arrogant or cocky and whatever. Like, he knows that he is the best player in this country in that position, and he is.
Yeah,
love it,
and he's proven it.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So why don't we stay on the subject of him, because he's in my my fair or foul section. So I'll just put it out now. I love him. People are going to kill me right now. Please don't. But I really think it's important because he's that important and he's that big and massive. All right. Let's help Saka create his own goal celebration. He needs his own song, like proper. All right. Which I think has come to be a little like, don't play the Emile Smith-Rowe Saka song at the end of the game. Emile Smith-Rowe's not playing and Saka deserves the spotlight. Stop the madness. Kev, he needs his own celebration. How can we help him? Please.
No.
Fair or foul?
Foul.
Yeah, foul.
Foul.
That.
Sophie, what's driving this
I'm a
young
bit like
man?
that, if I'm honest.
What's driving this young man is the past. He's connecting with your Thierry Henrys and all that. He's connected. That's why he said to Martin, I know you, Martin. He's connecting with the past to bring it into the Emirates now. Because you know what? Back to the Future. He wants to create his own legacy right now, but he's hanging off the past to bring it through. I think I texted you when you mentioned it to me, and I said, he'll get his own celebration. He'll get his own song. He will get it, but I just think it's so genuine that he connects with the past the way he does. I've got no problem with it whatsoever, because that's what's driving these players right now is the past. They want to bring it through to the future now. They want that title.
I like that Saka's retro, and also Potsy's mum agrees with me, that's all I need to know.
There you go.
Okay.
That's all you need. That's all you need in life.
Let's go home.
Yeah.
I love the idea, Kev, and all the respect and all the things that we talked about. And you know, I only use the rear view mirror to check my lipstick when it comes to other things, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, like, okay, you mentioned Back to the Future, McFly. The Rashford thing with this, he did that after, and I know he was having a pop at Rashford when he did that, right? Okay, which I liked because I was like, oh, he's getting a little dirty, Saka, and I kind of like that. But in the organic moment and the euphoria of what's happening at the Emirates and stuff like that, I want it to be his time. I don't want to be reminded of Thierry Henry. I've been reminded of him for 20 years. I want new history. I want now, and I want my Saka to have his moment. And I think, Dan, you said you were a bit like this. Tell me why.
Yeah, because I get it. I do get it. I also get what Lee and Kev are saying is, do you know what? It doesn't matter because him and Smith-Rowe are quite happy to have that song because they love each other and they've come through together and all the story behind that. I also do believe that celebrations, that they'll come. There's, you know, everybody has a celebration eventually. Some have it from the start, some have it right at the end. Alan Shearer had the same celebration forever. Some people chop and change it. As far as I'm concerned, mate, if he's scoring and he's happy here, he can stand there, go nuts. He can stand still. He can sing a song with someone. He can sing whatever he wants, and he can celebrate however he likes. As far as I'm concerned, I absolutely love the kid, man. I love the pair of them. Do you know what I will say? Just lastly on this, Soph,
yes.
something different for me this year on my channel is that I get to speak to all fans of other clubs. Every single one of them on my channel, and they all rep their clubs respectively, love him.
Yeah.
Love him. They love him.
Everyone
I say
loves
to them all
him.
the time, oh, who do you like from Saka? I go, hang on, you don't even know. I don't even let me finish the question yet. Saka, they all say it. Leeds fans, Villa fans, Brighton fans, Wolves fans, Southampton fans, Forest fans, Newcastle fans, Saka, straight away. Don't even have to think. And the other thing, you get somebody like Jack Grealish, James Maddison, all the Arsenal, England lads, Ramsdale, Ben White, all interviewing. Who's Saka? Don't even know the end of the question. Saka, straight away. Love him. They love him. Jack Grealish, I met his mum and I told him I love your son. Like, he's playing for Man City, by the way, who are fighting for a title. Imagine Roy Keane going, oh, I'll tell you I do love Patrick Vieira. Is it? That wouldn't happen. Jack Grealish, can't help it. Loves him. So, mate, he's unreal. Unreal.
All right. The love for Saka is real and it's true. Seeing as we're on the subject of celebrations, because it's my second fair or foul. What is this happening here? Look, there's nothing to pick on, right? So I've got to mention something. I like the heart. What's with the...
It's for his daughter.
Yeah. All right.
It's for his daughter in the box.
Leave him alone. So.
Like that, you know, like
leave Granit Xhaka alone.
I just want everyone to know that it's a bit of a joke, all right? With the celebrations, don't come at me in the YouTube comments. Don't kill me, all right?
Hey, Sophie, have you noticed these two down the bottom of like protecting Xhaka big time?
What's happened?
I love it.
Who'd have thought, Kev, that day would come, right? All right. Let me get to the last point of the top 5. We've got a little bit more time here. Are you guys at the bottom of the screen okay to stay with us for some extra time? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So
I'll invoice you, Soph. I'll invoice you.
My top 5 talking points have been mixed with my fair or foul and my quick fire. So it's all a little Greek meze right now. Do we still need, and I'll go back to you here. I'll start with the striker first, then we'll go to Lee and then Dan. Do we still need a prolific goal scorer this summer, Kev? Or has this season busted the myth that the Arsenal need Vlahovic, that the Arsenal need Osimhen, like the Arsenal need? What's your take on the prolific goal scorer?
You could never miss without one. I think we do need another striker. Whether the likes of Balogun, who's been doing so fantastically well in France, is he the answer? Could he come in and do a job? But he's untested at Champions League level. You know, we've been linked with Osimhen. That's the type of player you think he's the one. If you got him in, then you could dovetail Champions League midweek. Jesus is so versatile. Trossard so versatile. Martinelli's versatile. Then we could mix and match. We can be as strong in the league as in the Champions League. That's the type of squad we need. So I believe we need an experienced squad and someone who could get goals. Because let's be honest, we were like, when Jesus went down, I mean, our prayers were answered that Eddie showed up and Saka and Martinelli showed up. But we kind of came unstuck in Europe, and it ain't even the Champions League. So, you know, next season will be the big boys. So if you go in weak, you won't make it. You need to have that squad. So, you know, I think we do need another prolific striker.
Yep, you've been saying it for a while now. And Lee, I'm sure you're going to be in agreement. I've got one for you. And I put this to the squaddies last week and Kev, and I said, just to kill Tottenham Football Club once and for all and put that nail in that coffin, why don't we go pull off a cheeky Sol Campbell and get Harry Kane this summer? Hey, how about that? That'd be nice. Bosh, kill him dead.
The only way you get Harry Kane is on a free transfer. Like I tell you, like if I was Harry Kane, that's the first thing I'd be saying when I go into the meeting. If Daniel Levy turns around and says, "No, we're not selling you," I'll go, right, well, I'm not signing a new contract, and when my contract runs out, I'm going to go and sign for the Arsenal, like, you know. So that would have him like shaking in his boots, like, you know. So listen, I'd love to see Balogun given the chance. I really would like. I think I'm on that, you know. I think there's going to be a couple of casualties next season, a couple of big ones, which we probably won't like. Maybe Tierney, maybe Smith Rowe, because they get big money for them and they're not going to be like playing all the time. I don't know. But to bring in the big signings, the striker that we need, I think we need 2 midfield players as well. And then I think we're set for a very, very good campaign. And I think that you need to keep the wheels rolling, as they say, like, because I think that other teams, particularly in Europe, will look at what this Arsenal team is doing and feel that they might be able to shut it out. Block out the wide areas, and then we haven't got no one really who can head a ball. But if we was to get in somebody like, I don't know, Osman, who we're talking about, Ivan Toney's another one that's been mentioned, somebody like that, it just gives us another string to our bow, and I think that that's what we need. So I'm all for that. But to get those players in, like, say, I don't know, a Declan Rice, and a top striker, we may have to sell a couple of players along the way. Unfortunately, when you look at the success of Arsenal over the years, there has been a few casualties. And that's
I hear, and Lee and Dan, actually, it's going to be a very interesting next phase for Arsenal, because we've had to build, but now we want to keep building. But that also means that you may have to remove parts that you like, right? Pep didn't not like Jesus or Zinchenko anymore. He just couldn't accommodate them anymore. They wanted to start after being there for a few years. Kieran Tierney might fall into that now for us. Gone are the days where you're just getting rid of the Mustafis and the Ozils and the Kolasinac's of the world. You've actually now got to deal with players that you like, maybe even a Reece Nelson, maybe even a Tierney. Balogun and Eddie. Dan, what are you doing? Prolific goal scorer? Or do you just give Balogun a chance the way you did Saliba after he shone in Liga? What's your take?
Well, my take is I'd love the dream to come true and that Balogun is as good as Saliba is in his position next season. I just don't think that's going to be the case, because he's had less experience playing first team football than William Saliba. So I'm not going to sit there and get majorly excited. I just love the way he's playing. But for me, whether we win the league or come second, Sophie, our transfer window is exactly the same, whether we come first or second. For me, Declan Rice and Victor Osimhen, go and get it done. Go and get both of them done. Oh, Jesus might not play. Good. Let them fight it out. Let one of them decide who's better than the other. That's what I want in every single position. I disagree. I don't think we will see any casualties that we're disappointed with losing other than Kieran Tierney. He's the one I'll shed a tear for, because I love the kid. Right. Other than that, Nuntavaj, Sambi Lokonga, Maitland-Niles, Pepe, they're going to go. Right. They're going to go. But I don't think we're going to look back and go, cool, we're going to miss them lads. So the only one I would say is Kieran Tierney. We now need another left back to come in and replace for Zinchenko. I would love to keep this lad. I'd love him. I'd love him to stay. So we need to look at what he wants to do. If Newcastle are going to come and bid 45, 50 million like they're saying they're going to, then he's probably going to go because he wants first team football, and he's not a Mikel Arteta signing. That's what people need to realise. He's not an Arteta signing, so it might be that he doesn't see him in his future plans. But we're looking at players like that, Declan Rice and Victor Osimhen. We don't really need, in my opinion, any other first teamers coming in then, other than some players that can come and compete. So Victor Osimhen is going to compete for Jesus, but Declan Rice is a first team starter, isn't he? Yeah, I wouldn't put him straight in now because Xhaka's been superb, but he is a long-term replacement for Partey and Xhaka. There's rumours of Moses Caicedo. They're looking at him to refresh that midfield because Partey and Xhaka are hitting 30 and El Neni's in that bracket as well. So for me, I think that we're going to be sensible about it. And I also believe that Mikel Arteta did something with Jamie Carragher on Sky Sports News, and he said something really interesting for me that not many people mentioned. I know what this team looks like in 18 months' time, was what exact words of what he said, which means he knows who he wants. He's told Edu what he wants. Whether Edu's going to get it done or not is a different story, because I still have doubts that we can go for our number one targets, etc. And January was still frustrating for some. and so was the summer. But if we look at those positions that we need right now, Caicedo, Declan Rice, and Victor Osimhen would all come into this Arsenal squad right now and compete for those places. So it ain't like, crikey, what we're signing them for. We don't need midfielders and strikers. Yeah, we do. We need a prolific goal scorer, and trust me, this guy is a beast. Yeah, for Napoli, absolute monster. Number one for Tony, he can stay. Mitrovic, he can stay. I want Osimhen. I don't want the others. I don't care about the others. This guy is ridiculous. Yeah, Declan Rice, big fan. Moses Caicedo, big fan. But for me, Osimhen will be the one that we go, whoa, Arsenal are serious. That's no. Haaland's great, but trust me, he's going to be able to compete with him in terms of what he's doing. In my opinion, the goals is crazy. So, yeah, man, it's exciting times if we link with those names. So that's all I'm saying.
There's some good names there. And I tell you, wanting to play for the Arsenal is very attractive again. Kev always thought it was attractive because it was the Arsenal Football Club. But as a modern day player, you know, what, 4 seasons ago, 5, the last few years of Wenger's reign, if you're a world-class player, and look, I know we signed Aubameyang, I know we signed Lacazette. By the way, did Aubameyang do something stupid again yesterday? Got into trouble? I don't know. I just feel like we're a sexy proposition. And for all the right reasons. All right, I'll get you out on this last one. Don't go anywhere, anyone, because we're gonna read a very important letter.
I've got a question to ask just after you finish the quick fire.
I would love that, Kev. And we're going to give everyone their closing statement, as we always do, because this is a football democracy here, and we do love to drum that home, just like that Ashburton army. Banging that drum. Let's go, people. All right. Here is the last point of the day. 10 games to go, people. Lee, I'll start with you, Poppet. 10 games. We know that the Etihad game's going to be a rough one. We know that Liverpool could be rough, right? I don't know. We get a point at Liverpool and a point at City. I think it's ours. However, 10 games, there's going to be a banana skin game in there. Of the 10 fixtures, Lee judges, what is your banana skin game? And it can't be Liverpool or City because they're not in that category.
Right. My banana skin. Right. Thanks for that. Right. Realistically, when you look at it, 9 games, by the way, 9 games, because we can afford to lose one. Right. Okay. So
well, do you know what, Lee? Thanks for saying that, because here's how I'm doing the maths, and everyone on this show knows I'm shit at maths, right? I'm actually not calling it we're 8 points clear. I'm calling it we're 5 points clear.
Yeah, I am as well. So we'll see how it is. But
wait, whoa, time out. Arsenal are 8 points clear.
Yeah, but I'm seeing it as 5.
Yeah, but why? But we're 8.
Because I'm protecting my heart.
Yeah, because but this is going to go into my question.
They got to win.
This is going to go into my question.
Okay, then. All right. Well, let Lee finish his point, and then we'll get to the
finished.
He's 9 games. How I look at his 9 games, and the banana skin, and the game that I feel without those 3 games, like, you know, you look at Newcastle, Liverpool, and of course City. The one game that I think will be tough for us is a London derby. It's the worst stadium in the world to go and play football at. You can hardly see, and it's West Ham. That's a tough game. And that comes after, of course, Liverpool.
Beat them 3-1 last season. Lee. It wasn't a great... Eddie had a great game.
It's always a tough place. I've London derby. We've won every London derby bar one this season. You know, I know people will say Chelsea's going to be a tough game, but, you know, I think that, you know, you expect that to be a tough game. But I just think that like that West Ham game, if we can get over that, I'll be happy.
All right, Dan, what's your banana skin game?
This might surprise some. Brighton at home.
They're so good this season.
Very, very, very good side. And it's a bad omen playing them at home. I can't remember the last time we beat them. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we've only beaten them twice since they come up 6 years ago. So that for me is the one, you know, that's going to be tough, man. Trust me. It's going to be tough games. Forest at their place is never an easy place to go. You look at Wolves could be down there fighting. I don't think they will be now, but they could be. You never know. Southampton, Leeds, all these teams, you don't really want to be playing them this time of the season because they're all fighting for their lives just to grab a point, play horribly against you, try and nick something. But for me, I've been so impressed with Brighton, and I think they're going to come and have a go at us. So the other one is Newcastle away. But if I was to pick one, I'm going to go Brighton, I think.
Brighton. Kev, if you had to pick I know you've picked, I think we're close to your 15 points here. Just one more game to go. What's the banana skin game for you? I think we're going to absolutely pay Newcastle back and then some. I reckon we're going to give them a real good scene too when we go up there. Kev?
I think we've got to.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the same too. Brighton at home. Brighton are a really decent side.
Yeah.
Even when we were battering them down there, they kept going and made life difficult for us. You know, we played well down there and they still came back and made life so difficult for us. Newcastle away, who knows? They're battling for top 4. They've got games in hand on Spurs. So it's all to play for. I like our away form, if I'm honest with you. Away from home, teams have to come on to us and we can pick them apart. So I don't mind that.
Okay.
I think Brighton at home, so
yeah, I'm with you.
Real tough game. That's one we've got to win.
I'm with you and Dan on that one. And where is Mrs. Hogg right here? Gosh, no one likes to have a bit of fun, play my what if game. It's not negative. It's not negative. It's not negative. It's just fun. And there's always, all right, Mrs. Hogg, a banana skin game somewhere. And we've seen it. So it's a genuine question.
We've had our banana. We've had our banana.
Kev, what is your question for everyone?
My question is this, Soph. Our next game is Leeds. We win that, we are 11 points clear. What happens if City start to falter? What do people say then? Because nobody thinks City can falter. What happens if City falter?
Can I go first on that one real quick?
Of course.
In a nutshell, I think they've been through their blip. I don't think I think City will lose one more game this season, and it could be to Liverpool, or we to be champions and really change and keep breaking the ducks we've broken all season. We beat them. I think City have been through their crap. I really do. The Pep meltdown, getting everyone going.
Yeah, but that's not answering my question.
So what was
the question? Can I come in?
When we beat Leeds and we go 11 points clear.
Yeah.
What do people say if City start to falter?
Do you know what
I think we may have crushed their soul by then. Go on, Dan.
I hope there should be absolute uproar because they're not losing another game. If you speak to the media, they've already won the league. We're the ones that are going to falter. So if City falter, I expect there to be shock, horror. Oh my God, is Pep's future in doubt? Because the way people are talking, Man City ain't losing another game. They're going to go and win the treble. So they better go and do it. Otherwise, the media needs to be on their back. Because if we don't win the league, trust me, they'll be on our backs. Oh, we all told you. City went on this 15-game run, even though there was only 12 games to go, by the way, when Gary Neville said it. Oh, they're going to go on a 15-game run. Yeah, what an absolute waffle of that guy's turned into, by the way. For me, there's uproar if they lose. If they lose to Liverpool, they better not lose to Liverpool. They better not lose to there'd be uproar, absolute uproar. Because, there should be.
I'll tell you what.
Game, there'll be uproar.
It won't be uproar in my house. There'll be a bloody party. I'll tell you.
Well, I'm talking about the media. Well, there will be in mine as well. The media.
That's what happens. If they falter, we win it.
And there we go. But they're not going to, Lee. They're winning every single game, man.
I don't know. I'm not so sure.
Well, apparently they are. That's what everyone said. So they better go and win every game. That's all I'm saying.
Do you know what people say? They go, oh, they was only going for the Champions League. They'd be disrespectful to Arsenal. It'd be, they weren't interested in the league. Up yours.
No. When you go out and you get Haaland and the whole world tells the world that there's no point in watching the Premier League this season because City are going to walk it with Haaland.
Facts.
All right?
Well said.
Jamie O'Hara was one of the first people to say that. And
I listened to him.
You know, I just think that in this time and in this era where money's everywhere, all right, and you're looking at what United have spent, Chelsea, City, If we pull it off, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And you know what, Kev? They're the darlings, right? They're the darlings. So we have to earn our respect back. And
Big
until
time.
we win the Premier League, we will not get that respect. We've got a little of it back, but until we win the league, we don't get the respect.
Look, for me, I just think everybody is just, it's like it's just going to happen. Manchester City are going to win all the games. Doesn't work like that.
I think they've, what I said was they've been through their blip, and the likelihood of them losing too many, I don't see them losing more than one game because they've been through their bad run.
Sophie.
That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that they're better than us.
Sophie, we're 28 games in, or they're 27 games in. So who's to say they're not going to drop points?
They could, but my opinion is they won't drop more than 3.
Yeah, but that's everybody's opinion. Everybody's opinion is they're going to run away with it. But I'm saying, could we put enough pressure on?
So we run away with it.
I think we have already.
Run away with it because they've got Champions League, FA Cup, league. That might catch up with them.
Okay, so what we've seen in the past from City is they thrive on pressure. They thrive on this. This is what this is their fuse. This is their muse. This is what lights the fire under their arse, is these moments in a season to close it out. We've not been there. And we were there for a smaller spotlight last year. We're there for a bigger one. I think we've learned from last year, and I think we're ready to close the deal. But when the beast is City, as an Arsenal fan, you can't help but protect your heart. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Closing statement, 30 seconds from each of you. Dan Potts, you go first. And then I'm going to read the letter. You're not going to want to miss it.
Looking forward to the letter. I can't lie. Listen, thank you guys so much, as ever. Keep the faith, because at the moment, we're the best team in the league. I said on a show earlier that we deserve to win the league. And the response, of course, I was with a West Ham, Chelsea and Tottenham fan, so I should have known better. But they all said, Man City might deserve to win it as well. Well, they don't at the moment because we're top of the league. And it is 8 points because City have got to go and beat Liverpool if they want to make it 5. So I believe at the moment that the way things are going, we are playing the best football. The only thing that will let us down is injuries, in my opinion. And they are to key players. If we was to get long-term injuries like we did at the back end of last season, Partey, Saka, Jesus again, any of those guys, Saliba, hope he's back, and it's like days, not weeks, like they're suggesting. If we got any of those long term, I would worry that we could keep our form up. But at the moment, touch wood, we're looking all right, and I hope one game a week is a blessing in disguise, like people keep saying. Because if we win that title, the streets ain't ready. Trust me.
Hey. If we do, we're going to have a Highbury Squad bus stop parade in London somewhere. I'm doing it. It's happening. Lee Judges, what's your closing statement?
My closing statement is this. Manchester City can win and do whatever they like. They can't influence the Arsenal. If Arsenal win 9 games out of 10, doesn't matter what they do, they can't win the league. We can. Enjoy the ride.
Strap
Wonderful.
in. Strap yourselves in.
Super Kev is going to give us his closing statement at the end, as you all know. Right, here we go. If you have been living under a rock or not listening to the show, and not everyone does, and that's fine. We had a domestic last week, and as you know, the Highbury Squad includes their listeners in pretty much everything that we do. Super Kev felt that he was betrayed, backstabbed by one of our original listeners, Newman, who is desperately trying hard to get a Highbury Squad coin. This is what it's all about, people. This thing right here. Desperately wanting one of these. And unfortunately, he's yet to receive one this season. So in light of Newman's request for us to show his last piece of art, which does include Lee Judges as well, Kev said no. After being backstabbed, there's no way it's happening. So Here is the letter I received. Dear Soph, the subject is Zenith coin appeal. Okay. Dear Soph, in light of this evening's events, please can you read this message to Casey and the squaddies? It is true that I did tweet a suggestion that Casey be removed from the Highbury Squad advisory board. This is because he never gave me a Zenith coin, which resulted in mental disturbance for which I am currently undergoing medical treatment. It is it is also true that Casey very kindly sent me a Paul Davis book, which he will be pleased to know I am currently reading. The best bit so far is when Davis clumps Steve Cockrell in the cake hole.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. I'm deeply ashamed of my actions. And with that in mind, I'm suspending myself from the Highbury Squad indefinitely. He's in chat tonight, by the way. Although I have little defense for my actions, I will say, however, that I did not stab Casey in the back. The tweet in question was sent directly to Casey and Sophie. If I had just sent the tweet to Soph, I wouldn't be accused of being a backstabber. I hope you can all forgive me. Love and sincere apologies, Newman.
By Kevin's face, he ain't got him. He's got me, but he ain't got Kevin. I'll say it like that.
I'm ready to show the art, Super Kev. I am ready. Doesn't mean he's getting a
good
coin.
bit of art, I think, to win him over. I think.
Let's see what let's see what the squaddies think, Kev. Jeff says we love Newman. Boy, who absolutely hates me, the 100% for sure, loves Newman. Sounds like Chat GTP letter. Give him a coin. We need to vote now. Mark says blah, 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 blah. I didn't receive the book I won on New Year's Eve because you gave us the wrong address, Marcello, and I've sent you 2 emails and you haven't responded to me. Don't you start now. You write a letter. Thank you.
It went and it came back.
Yes. Thank you, Kev. All right. What say you, Kev? I'm going to keep putting the comments up. Bloody hell, Super Kev ain't buying this one. James Johnston in the house. He's smiling in your face all the time. He wants to take Kev's place. Newman, the backstabber. Please be merciful. Please be merciful.
Guys, you got to remember, I made a comment about Arsenal. Newman played all political. I even sent him a Paul Davis book. And then he wants me off the panel, backstab. To me, that's a backstabber. To me, that's a backstabber.
It don't look good for him, Kev, does it?
No, well, it's not good for him because he can. That letter should be to me, not to Sophie. It should be to me.
It is. It's to you and the squaddies.
It's to you, Sophie. It's not to me.
Right.
It's just a slight mistake on his part. That.
Sorry. So listen. I love all the squaddies. I love Newman, etc. I got no problem with him, but I just don't play that. That's all. So if you want to show the art, I'll get off.
No, because I've got to stick with you like Ian Wright and Gary Lineker.
No, you don't. You've got Lee and POTTS there.
Well, what did Lee and POTTS say? Because Lee might end up taking the Alex Scott role, and then POTTS will take the commentary. We're all going together.
Listen, I've got a lot of time for Newman. I think he's a good laugh and everything like that. Maybe he should be forgiven, but that's for Kevin to do, like, you know. And listen, it takes a lot to upset Big Kev. I have to say that, like, you know, he's normally a forgiving sort of chap. So, but backstabbing is not one of his things.
Hey, Lee, what
about a couple of week ban?
And then he stabbed me in the back. I can't be did. And he never even addressed the letter to me. Not for me. Sorry.
All right, Newman. You gotta maybe send a letter directly to Kev.
No, it's too late now.
No,
it's too late now. God, it's too late. It's too late now.
Ross, what?
Sorry, you got the chance.
All right. That's it then. I can't show the art without Kev's approval. I mean, I can't
You
turn
can
my
show
back
the art
on
when
Kev.
I'm not on.
Okay. I will do that, but not tonight then. I mean, Lee's in the art. So, you know, we're going to...
No, look, listen, I'm not going to go against my main man, Kev.
Yeah, exactly. See, no one's going against you. Dan's, you know, show the art. I mean, the room's split. It's just like, it's a bit like Brexit right now. It's like right down the middle. Or is it? I don't know. Is it? Is Brexit still? I don't know. Anyway, I think we're going to have to leave it there. No forgiveness, says Mrs. Hogg.
No forgiveness.
Newman pay for Super Kev's broadband upgrade. There's...
Like that, Mark.
Yes, good Mark, that one.
All right. Well, look, we promised you a bumper show tonight. It's radio style, an hour and a half. That's your lot for the week. See you later. No. Super Kev, that's it. Your last word. No art, no forgiveness. We move on.
To be fair, it's not even a matter of forgiveness, to be fair, because it's a matter of respect, self-respect for me. Because
sure,
I respect Newman enough to let things go and send him a book. He don't respect me enough to jib me in the back. That's all right.
We need problem. VAR.
After that, I don't need to, you know, I'd rather not deal with him then. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather not deal with him. So we can get along on here and all that, but I don't want to see none of that art. So to all the squads, I've got to thank Lee Judges. I've got to thank POTTS. I've got to thank you, Sophie. I've got broadband problems. I've got Newman problems. But there's one thing I haven't got problems with. That's the Arsenal winning and being top of the league.
Get in there.
So, like I always say, everybody, like these lads love the stadium. They love the fan base. Tell everybody you love them. Look after yourself. And you know what? Enjoy the international break. And enjoy the Welsh judges. Because he's now a dragon. Squaddies, at ease, squaddies. We love you. At ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.